And I feel like before we like knew where we wanted to go, but we would limit ourselves with what we thought we could do.
To just like the social media sphere, content creation sphere.
And we would put like caps on that. We're okay, and our goal is 50 people joining this. And they were like, why are you limiting yourself so much?
We opened a Southwest personal credit card. We were able to get like 135,000 points. I was able to book like 6 round trip domestic flights with all of those points.
And on top of that, we got the companion pass, which meant I got to fly free.
I just have to pay taxes for Steven, $11.20.
And welcome back to the Fortitude podcast. We're your hosts, Micah and
Sarah.
And we are with the Lover's Passport, Giselle and Steven.
Woo!
And we met you guys on the Norwegian cruise. We did a contract with Norwegian, and we ended up meeting you guys. And you're just the nicest people. I also thought that maybe you came straight from Spider-Man, Steven. After that acting gig, you came over. For those of you who can't see, he looks like, what's his name?
James Franco.
James Franco. Oh, yeah, the first time I met him, I was like, wow, that guy looks like James Franco.
That was his yearbook quote in high school.
Really?
Yeah, literally everywhere we go, on all of our first dates too, there'd be like these other tables, and they were like, "Oh my gosh!" They'd be like Spider-Man, or they'd be like James Franco, and she would be like, "Gosh."
But it's funny because it's not even Spider-Man; it's the Green Goblin.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
The villain.
Yeah. I remember seeing that or meeting you in person and was like, wow, that guy really looks like James Franco, which is a compliment. He's a handsome dude. So, but you guys are travel creators, and it was so fascinating to talk to you about that side of things because it's very different from what we do. And so really looking forward to diving in and, asking all about that.
Yeah, I'm stoked that we get to finally connect. I feel like because we're travel creators and you guys are obviously busy and now pregnancy and all that stuff, like trying to coordinate schedules. So we're so stoked we finally could make it on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Also, you got married since we last saw you. So congrats on your wedding.
Dude,
it looks absolutely
there's been so
perfect.
much that has happened since we last saw you. You guys saw us the week before Steven proposed, and he had the ring on that cruise the whole time and was hiding it. And then, and then we got married. We got a house.
Started
a business, another business. Yeah, it's been a whirlwind in just 2 years.
What did you guys do before travel creation? It like you guys did like office jobs, or?
I did an office job. Steven's actually never had like a traditional job,
yeah,
but I
own my own small business. So I taught Taekwondo or martial arts. So when you think of like Karate Kid, that was me. That was all I did. So from 3 years old all the way up to still now, I'm getting ready to test for my 6th degree black belt this summer. But that's basically my whole background. Is I would teach Taekwondo to kids, adults. I would travel and compete. But yeah, very different. Never had a technical office job, but we had hours. It was 3 to 9 p.m. But G actually had a proper office job.
Yeah. So before Lovers, my most recent job before was doing a director of marketing position for a small business here in Ventura, and it was all over the place. I wore so many hats because it was such a mom and pop shop. So I did their email marketing, I did their social media, I launched their influence marketing program. I would pitch retailers to try and get the products in stores. I did graphic design, bottle design, literally all the hats, because there was only 3 other employees. So.
It was really funny though. The day that G went in for her interview after college at this job, she was so excited, really nervous. And I'm like, you got this. It's going to be amazing. And she didn't know where she was applying, right? So she's driving to this job interview and is like, wait a second, and looks across the street. And my Taekwondo studio literally was across the street.
So we got to have our lunch breaks together, which is always
crazy.
fun. We were working. Yeah.
So then from there, did you have a plan to be like, let's start a social media, like a travel content creation business, or is that something that just happened because of the way that you live your lives?
Yeah, who started?
It was me.
G was the mastermind behind all of it. We had very different backgrounds. G was a travel kid growing up. She studied abroad. She traveled all over the world.
My mom was a travel agent.
Yeah,
so we were very lucky to be able to go and do all these crazy things because you don't get all these really good discounts. And I had family in London. My dad's from there. And so we'd be traveling to visit my grandparents ever since I was a little kid. And then I studied abroad when I was 15. That was my first time traveling going solo, like I was just like, I'm gonna go study at Oxford. I'm just gonna save up for 3 years at my little job, and then I decided to go there. And then after that, I just had the travel bug, so I kept going.
Yeah, so G had that background, and then I just camped a lot. My family grew up very, very poor, so couldn't really afford anything besides free camping. So we did tons of hiking, though. I climbed Mount Whitney, the tallest mountain in the U.S. or lower U.S. when I was 13. So like that was my whole background. So we just kind of combined it. So then we started doing road trips, and G would be like, okay, well, let's plan something maybe a little nicer. So we would fly out to like Puerto Vallarta in Mexico and do something fun like that. But we both loved hiking and traveling. So at basically every single weekend, we would go off, and we modeled for one of our friends. So our friend was a professional photographer at the time, Chris. Every time we went on a hike, I was like, what are you talking about? Aperture? Like, what is this word? And he would kind of explain, like, this is my thought process and this is what I'm looking at. So it was super. We both like started to learn a little bit more. And G had a film and media background in college. So I feel like she was
And a
the
marketing
brains
background.
behind. Yeah. So she learned a lot about marketing. She dealt with influencers at her job. And then she also knew a lot more about the video stuff. So it was kind of her idea. And we saw this one travel couple called Marie and Jake Snow. They were like the quote unquote OG travel creators. And G was like, we could totally be this. And then,
But like, it was never, I saw them and I was like, wow, look at what they're doing. It was never like,
Yeah.
oh, we should start this business. I had a solo female blog back in the day called The Blonderer, like the Blonde Wanderer, which didn't last very
Blonderer?
long. The Blonderer. Yeah, it was so bad. I was obsessed with this girl, The Blonde Abroad. And I was like, how do I make like a blonde travel blogger name? And I was like, The Blonderer. Yeah, it's so bad. I don't know how many people actually saw the light of day of that. I set it up totally wrong, but I would do like weekly articles on there, and it was just about like our little weekend trips, and I'd post our little iPhone selfies along with it. And I just loved writing, and people would always ask us questions about like, oh, I saw you guys in backpacking, tell me more about it. Like, what do you need to pack? Where did you go? Do you need permits? All that kind of stuff. So it was mostly just for friends and family at first, and then in January of 2020, I was like, Steven, like, would you want to do this with me? Like, I think it'd be kind of fun, like just as like a couple's passion project. And he's like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. And then so I started everything, and it wasn't until March when COVID happened that he was actually interested. Like when I first started, like it was all me. And then yeah, COVID happened, and Steven was like, I'm only teaching Zoom out of my living room for 2 hours a day now, teaching martial arts, and I have all this free time and we can't go anywhere. So he got really into it then.
it was rough trying to teach Taekwondo off of Zoom to like 3, 4, 5, and 6-year-olds.
Oh my gosh,
goodness,
absolutely.
I can't imagine.
So it was pretty brutal. So that was like my 2 or 3 hours a day, and then the rest of the time, G and I would be like, "How can we get better with our camera?" So on our little neighborhood walks, we would bring our camera out and try and take some photos and learn how to do it all. And then once COVID kind of opened up in California, we just started road tripping and taking our photos, and then we kind of
just progressed from there.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh shoot, we're making just as much money as our full-time jobs. And then like literally a year later, I quit my job to do this full time. So wild
Was that
ride.
scary to do that?
So
was
scary.
it kind of like do that jump just because like you're used to that consistent paycheck, and it's just something different. You're kind of stepping out on faith that this is just going to continue on, and so yeah, was that a little bit nervous doing that?
Oh my gosh, it was so scary. I am such a person that likes reliability and like having the stable like paycheck of a 9 to 5 and knowing my hours. Like I was like, yes, this is great. I'm going to try and keep Lovers as a side hustle as long as I physically could. But then it got to the point where I was just getting burnt out, and I knew I either would have to hire someone on Lovers to come on if we wanted to keep doing what we were doing, or I'd have to quit my job. And so I made like this checklist. I was like, okay, I need to like do all of these things, because there's a lot of stereotypes about, like freelancers, and I wanted to make sure that we weren't just jumping head on into this thing and not being prepared. So I was like, okay, I need to pay off all of my student debt. I need to pay off my car, pay off my credit cards. I need to save up a retirement or start my retirement account, make sure I have health insurance plans, like all this stuff. And so once I completed that, it was literally in like a week or two, or like in terms of the smaller stuff, and then within like a month for the like bigger debt items because
It
I
took a
had
lot.
been like saving up for a rainy day. And so I was like, okay, well, this is my opportunity to really take a chance on myself. I literally cried when I put in my 2 weeks. I
It
was
was
like,
I was pestering her so much because me being like the boyfriend on the side and she would work 8 to 3. She worked a lot more than
Boyfriend
I
on the
did.
side.
Yeah, she worked like 8 to 3
8 to
and
4,
8 to 4,
yeah.
and then she would get off and work from literally like
5 to like
5 to like
11,
midnight
yeah.
most days. And I would
Oh,
hear
wow.
like I'm so overwhelmed, I can't do this. Our weekends would be like waking up for sunrise, going and shooting content because we'd have jobs coming in. At this time, we were probably making like 30 grand a month off of
Wow.
Lover's
And my
Passport
full
stuff.
salary at work was $50K.
So that I was looking at her saying like, what are you doing?
I
Like,
just am a loyal person too. And so I was
Yeah.
like, like that boomer mentality of like, once you're at a job, you're never going to quit. Like,
Yeah, of course.
that was me. and I loved my job and I loved my boss. But at the end of the day, I was just like, you know what? We got something going for us. And literally the day I put in my 2 weeks, we landed a $30K collab with a tourism board for like 4 days of work. So I was like,
Wow.
this is more than half my salary for 1 week of work. Are you kidding? Why didn't I do this sooner?
Yeah.
And every day I'm like, wow, why didn't I quit sooner? I should have. But it is really terrifying, going into the unknown and not knowing necessarily if it's going to be viable because there are a lot of content creators that will take it full time and they don't succeed. So I think it really just goes into, having a plan and making sure that if you are going to put the bet on yourself that you're putting everything you got into it.
yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, ultimately, even if you're at a really solid position, you're still betting on yourself. Like there's still a level of faith that is put into just trusting that. Okay, well, if I do what I can do on in my control, then I'm just trusting that things are going to come along. And that can go for anything that you do, whether it's content creation or a career path or something that that you're really pursuing. It's like you gotta be willing to go all in on it, and then have trust and faith behind the action. And so so that happened you went full time in when? March of 2020 or?
So we started like actually posting on our page in March of 2020, and then I was able to quit my job October of 2021. So a little over a year and a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, it took us
Yeah.
like 8 months, I think, to hit 1,000 followers. So we said like we were actually doing it in like October
Sure,
of 2020 is when
'Cause-
like we actually kind of knew what we were doing.
Before that is just like, oh, let me post these really awful photos that we took, and we thought they were like the best photos ever. And then looking back, it's like, no wonder why it took us so long. These were garbage, but we were passionate.
Yeah, but that goes a long way.
It does.
Like if you really are passionate about what you're doing, you're just gonna like get over you will learn, about and get better at something. You'll probably suck at it in the beginning, but then you just if you're passionate about it, your willingness is to get better at it, and you will. And I mean, I get the travel bug every time I go through your guys' feed. It's frustrating. I'm joking, because I'm like, man, look at all of the places they've been, and it's just such a cool thing. But I know that a lot of work is put in on your end, because I think a lot of people see that and they're like, man, they're just so lucky, and like that is just such a dream life to be able to travel with your partner, get paid for it, and just like enjoy life, which I'm sure you do. But the amount of work that goes in, people just probably don't see.
I
So is
love
that
when we
like-
bring new people on our team because they see it from a lot of them were followers before, and then they'll like come and they start helping us, or even people that joined our course, the Creator Passport, when they got into it, they're like, oh my gosh, this is like
A college level course.
this is
like
crazy, all
there's-
everything that goes in behind the scenes. Because even like yesterday we did a live editing with us, and I was like, okay, come with us as we edit this thing. We just got back from the Dominican Republic and they were like, oh my gosh, not all of your footage is incredible. And I'm like, yeah,
you have to make it look
I
good.
was like, you only see like 5 or 6 of like the actual videos out of the 500 that we take maybe. So I think it's very interesting to just being like a viewer and then being on the opposite. I feel like I just watched this interview with Chris Hemsworth and he talked about the movie watching experience for him now, like being on all these crazy Marvel movies and behind the scenes. And then he struggles now to like sit down and watch a movie because you know what goes on behind the scenes, and being a viewer, like this is movie magic, like how this is incredible. But once you see what goes on, it's kind of mind blowing.
Yeah. Did you guys have anyone that you learned from, or did you just kind of trial and error, figure it out as you went?
Kind of a mix of both. Trial and error definitely for the first like couple of months, which is why we had a lot of like slow growth. And then we bought a course from actually our coach Danny, and she now is our first full-time hire. So she's now coming to work for us, which is so cool. Full circle.
That's awesome. Full circle.
And so she kind of showed us the ropes in terms of like monetizing and all that kind of behind the scenes content creator stuff. When it came to the business side, the trial and error side was definitely through our like content side though, like actual production of photography and videography and editing. And that was all us learning off of YouTube tutorials.
Dude, YouTube University is underrated.
Yeah, that's where we learned everything. And
yeah, you can learn just about anything on YouTube.
Literally though. And so there was so much free resources out there. Steven really dove into like manual photography and videography, and I dove into editing. And so that's kind of how we split it up, because having both of us edit in the beginning, we were like not stepping on each other's toes, but we just had very different styles and visions. And so early on, especially, I'm sure you guys can relate working with your spouse. It's like you want to make sure that you guys aren't overstepping on each other's duties, I guess. Keep it nice and civil in the business so it doesn't carry over into your relationship. And so that's something we started doing immediately, like delegating out tasks so we wouldn't crisscross.
I mean, even as small as like we'd both be sitting on our phones and I'd be like, Giselle, we both double commented on 100 of these comments when we're responding. Like even like small things like that though, like we just really had to like separate everything out.
Yeah, I was gonna say like tasks of like, okay, well, I'll be in charge of editing, you're in charge of filming, you're like commenting, like responding to DMs, like different things like that. I would assume you kind of just split up roles within that. That makes sense. How do you guys like, because you're so I'm like, how often are you actually home? Like in a year?
I counted up. Let's see. Last year we were home we were traveling for 4 months of the year last year. This year, that's a great question. You know what? Actually, I have this really rad cool app on my phone called Flighty. And I just started doing it this year because I saw all these people do their end of year recaps last year. And I was like, I want to know all these stats. So this year so far, let's see, we have been on 35 flights and it is the last week of May. And then we still have, I think, we have another like
lots
20 on the calendar already. It's insane.
But we're not, I feel like we don't travel full time. So we'll go for like our past 2 weeks. We were in the Dominican Republic for 4 days working on a client shoot, and we flew back for 18 hours. And then we flew out to South Carolina for 3 or 4 days. Now we're home for like a full month though, unless we decide to go on a road trip or plan like a little other trip, which we most likely will. But typically we're not gone for like a full month.
Yeah, we usually
do have a
like,
dog, so we come home for like 2 weeks, hang out.
Make sure she remembers us. No, just kidding. She stays at grandma's whenever we travel, which she loves. But yeah, we typically try and do like 4 days to a week at a time. And then we'll have like a week off and then go back out. Full-time traveling looks absolutely exhausting. Like,
I don't know how people do it.
I don't know how other travel influencers that literally don't have a home base do it. I need to be refreshed at some point. Because at some point, it is a job and you will get burnt out from it.
Yeah, like when we're home, it's quote our vacation.
Yeah.
Like, I was just about to say your vacation is actually being home. It's like your vacation from the vacation, but your vacation, I mean, to everybody else's perspective, your vacation's work. You're also enjoying getting to travel, but you're there for a purpose and like you need to get a certain thing done while you're there. Or else the client won't be happy or something like that.
Right, but we also
got to be a level of pressure probably.
There is, because you have to work with the
The weather.
weather, which
Oh,
is the
man.
worst part. Because
Mm.
we've literally had to shoot hotels when there's a Category 4 hurricane coming through, or we're trying to shoot a fall colors campaign, and the first insane blizzard of the year comes through and wipes out all the leaves. Like, there's a lot of factors that you have to be really cognizant of when you're out doing what we're doing, and you also have to be so like free flowing and like adaptive to whatever you're handed, because at the end of the day you still have to deliver these things to your clients regardless of the conditions. And
Yeah.
so that is the one thing about what we do. Like, you're at the mercy of external conditions that you can't control. But the nice thing is too, we try to balance those kinds of trips with, we call them like our us trips versus our work trips.
I was about to
So
say we've been much better about that this year. Like earlier this year we were in Norway, Sweden, and Finland for 2 weeks, and that was, I think we had like one job technically to shoot that sponsored the whole trip, but we were able to just road trip, chase the northern lights, and it didn't feel like it was a work trip.
like, that was just for fun
Compared to like
Yeah.
these last 2 trips for South Carolina and Dominican, like those were specifically work trips. We were there to shoot these 4 jobs, flew back. Now we're editing all those, so very very different types of trips.
Yeah.
Wow. How do you find like setting boundaries in your life? Because that's something that we certainly have struggled with and are still figuring out. Because when
Yeah.
you work for yourself, it's very easy to just never ever shut it off. And especially when you work with your spouse, it can feel like, wow, we're together all the time. And then weeks go by and you're like, we actually haven't had any quality time. We've talked a lot about business and our work, but we haven't really had any quality time. So do you guys have like a way, like, do you have a like planned boundaries, or how do you handle that?
That is so funny that you bring up quality time.
We both have very different views on quality time.
It's
'Cause
both
for-
of our top love language, but yeah, we have different definitions of
Like
it.
for me, I'm like, okay, we're in the Dominican Republic, staying at this 5-star resort in front of this fire show happening, drinking a bottle of wine and champagne with lobster. I'm like, this is incredible. Like, this is quality time. And she's like, nope, this
I'm like,
is
that
not.
doesn't count. You didn't plan it. That's not.
You didn't plan it.
You gotta put in the effort, sir. This doesn't count. Like, yes, it's still quality time, but it's work quality time. So when it comes to boundaries, though, they're both work and like work at home. I would say it is very difficult as a freelancer, because when, in our view, like, if we're not working, we're not making money, or potential clients, right? So like, that mindset is kind of dangerous, because you want
Yeah.
to keep on going,
I
and
would
it
say
will
that-
lead to burnout at some point as well. But for us, I think something that's really helped when we're out shooting, for example, we try and only get photo content during sunrise and sunset. And that's like a hard, like, that is photo time, not us time. During the day, then we can relax. So that's like in the photo sphere. When it comes to like actually working at home, we've started time blocking our days. So we're not even time blocking, but like almost like theming our work days.
Yeah, and like giving them each tasks. Like, we know today, for instance, Monday is my editing day. So I'm going to try and get all of my editing done for the week. And then after that's done, then we're good to go. So we almost do it like by a task-based thing rather than like an hours-based thing.
And yeah, just because I get a lot more overwhelmed than he does, so I need stronger boundaries when it comes to that. Steven's just a workhorse. He could just like work and keep going, and he's enjoying it. Whereas
love
I view it as work, and he views it as fun. So I think there's just like a difference there. But then, yeah, when it comes to like separating out working with your spouse and then like having your relationship with your spouse, like being so intentional about like setting up other things. So we try and do at least one date night a week, and we try and rotate who's planning it every other week or so whenever we're home. And making it like, okay, we're not shooting, we're not bringing the camera, we're not going to record this is not going on the stories, like, this is just for us, no one else has to know about it. And then just like in the middle of the day too, like, our quality time is, well, no work, we just take our dog out for a walk around the neighborhood and just have our daily life conversation about something else not related to work then. And
I feel like communication, we always say, G was a communication major. So it was really funny in the beginning of when we were dating, when something would happen, for instance, when we were working, or like maybe there was a little bit of tension, she'd be like, okay, I studied this in my communication class. I think this is what's happening right now. This is what we should do. And I'd be like, Okay.
Well,
cool.
okay, he's half my major was like marketing and the other half was relational communication. And so I took a
That's
lot of
hilarious.
classes and I love school. I'm always a learner. I was that straight A honors nerdy gal, you know. And so I loved learning about that kind of stuff. I literally wrote my honors thesis on the dark side of romantic relationships, which was ironic because I'd never been in one before Stephen. And so I had all this time to absorb all of this information. And then when I finally got a boyfriend, because Stephen was my first and only boyfriend.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Steven.
One and done. Check.
Nailed it.
It
Steven,
was-
is she your only girlfriend?
No.
Unfortunately, no. When we met, I actually, well,
Are you gonna share that story? Do it, Stephen. You already started.
when we met, I showed up to a friend's birthday party. It was a joint birthday party, and I showed up with a different girl, technically. And we were getting
Oh.
into a bar, and she had her fake ID, and it didn't work. So she left, and then I was like, "Well, gee, how are you?" So that's technically how we met.
Stephen was a player when I first met him. I will say.
And then you tamed
Yeah.
him, tamed the stallion.
We tamed him. Yes. Lots of personal growth, huh?
There we go.
Like, was there conversations around that? Like, I mean, I know for us, it was kind of similar to like I kind of, had many different like girl friends without the label.
Call them girlfriends.
And so and that was so when it came to a relationship. I don't know, Stephen. I wondered if this is for you, but I was scared of. I think I was scared of commitment, and that was an issue between our relationship in the beginning because I was constantly in my head being like, well, what if there's somebody better? What if there's somebody more perfect for me and just like a better fit? And so I was constantly playing that game. And I would have ruined our relationship if we didn't like get counseling and have conversations, these hard conversations around these topics. And so I didn't know if there in the beginning was that ever like a difficulty for you, Giselle, or for you, Stephen, or was there conversations, or how do you kind of get through that to now
I
being
feel
married?
like we actually talked about. We were listening to your podcast episodes on one of our road trips, and we'd pause it in between. We have a little conversation and talk about it. So it was really good. But I feel like in the beginning, I actually had like a bunch of long-term relationships, and I almost had like we always say like my biggest fear is being alone. That for whatever reason, but through like all
Sure.
of high school, I had a 6-year relationship. Broke up 3 months later. I was in like a 2-year relationship, broke up, and then I think that right after that is when I started to meet G, like 8 months after that. So I always just had like that quote unquote fear of being alone, or if I didn't have a girlfriend or wasn't talking to someone, I'd be like, I'd put a lot of my worth almost in that compared to just working on myself and going through that process. So I think it was definitely very different. But when I started dating G, it was very, very different. Like right off the bat, I'd never had anyone like offer to do anything. I was always like the quote unquote stereotypical boyfriend, like you pay for this, you do this, you plan everything, you handle that. And G was much more of like the new age, I guess, or very modern girlfriend where she was like, no,
Slip in the credit card
I'm
for
going to
the
pay
bill.
for this burger. Or I'm going to plan this date and I'm going to surprise you with this. And I was like, oh my gosh, is this what it feels like to like have someone care about you or have someone take care of you? One of my friends the other day, because he's potentially thinking about proposing, he was like, how do you know if you like love someone or like what, like when you're about to commit? And I was like, you just know, like there's a very obvious difference for me between all of my past relationships. And when I met G, it was like an eye opener, like, wow, this is what it actually feels like to like be in a really healthy relationship. So I feel like for me, it was obviously for G, it was her first one. And I kept telling her like, you are like the best person I've ever met that's done a relationship. She's like, you're just saying that. I'm like, no, this is like very true. I've been in like over 10 years of relationships at this point, and you were like hands down amazing.
Well, it was just a very different experience for me because I had imposter syndrome almost because I hadn't dated anyone else. Like I had gone on dates with people, but I hadn't like been in a true relationship with people. And so I was like, am I doing this right? Is this like how relationships work, you know? And so I was fully committed immediately just because I wasn't playing games. I didn't start dating until I was 21. I was very sure of myself, very independent. And I was like, you know what? I don't need no man unless they are going to like bring me up, you know? And so I was I was confident in myself.
Put a ring on it.
Yeah. I was confident in myself enough where I wasn't, going to play around with any mind games or anything. And Steven didn't, immediately I was like, oh, like you're a normal person. That's not like, all the college age frat bros. Very stark contrast. And so immediately I was just like, yeah, I'm all in. But I'm also a very loyal person. Like that is my, I would say, in all those leadership seminars that I had to go to back in the day, they'd always be like, describe yourself in like 3 qualities, right? And loyalty was always one of my biggest ones. And so I immediately didn't have any issues with it, but there was a lot of like questioning in the first year of our relationship, mainly just because, like I said, I didn't really know like the dynamics of everything. And I was definitely more committed than Steven in the beginning for sure. But we did have the hard conversations. I think literally my communication major was like a big save, honestly, because it did teach me how to have the hard conversations even when it was uncomfortable, which is the only reason we haven't really needed like counseling or therapy, even though I'm a huge proponent of that. I feel like we've been having those conversations ever since we started dating, like in the beginning, which has been huge.
Yeah. Where do you think that came from? Because as a 21-year-old, I did not have the wherewithal to like begin to have those kinds of conversations. Like I think I was 27 when we met and we were in our early 30s when we got married. And so by then I was emotionally mature enough to like know how to have conversations, but to be able to do that at 21 is not something that I feel like is common. So where is that just how you were wired? Did you have an example in your, like, where did that come
was
from?
That parents or upbringing or because you're, also the fact that you were just like, I'm not going to mess around with just dating and I'm, until somebody's serious and I can see like a future with that's most people's probably doesn't have that kind of mindset either. I think that's Steven's route is a lot more common route. It's just like, I just want to, I don't want to be alone because being with my thoughts is a lot scarier. And so it's I need a distraction. So then you bounce from person to person and want like it's desiring that love instead of kind of doing the work it's a lot scarier to do that. So for you, Giselle, yeah, where did you see that growing up or where did that come from?
So honestly, my parents divorced when I was like 6 or 7 years old. So I was forced to grow up very quickly, I think, in that regards. And so I'm a twin, but I'm the younger one by 1 minute, but I basically assumed the eldest sister role, of me and my brothers. Like I was the one to like kind of take charge and all that kind of stuff. And so from like 7 years old on, I was always like very responsible, very on top of it, very communicative because I had to with my parents because they didn't really get along when I was younger. Now they're great. But then just like growing up and going through all these things, I've always like, I was just reading this mindset book on like the growth versus the fixed mindset. And I've never really thought about it intentionally, but I think looking back, I've just always had this growth mindset of like, I can always be learning. I can always be better. I can always like do things to help other people. And I think in college, especially, one thing that helped me out a lot was I was a sorority president.
That was what I was going to say.
I don't
Whoa,
emphasize that very
coming.
often because it was my alter ego, girly girl, self, which I am a huge tomboy. So it was a very big, different thing for me when I decided to join. And I had to go through all of this training and leadership training and also having to manage 200 college age women at once. Oh man, I would not wish that upon anyone. I would not do it again. Yeah. But it forced me to realize, like, I was basically the house therapist. If people had a problem, they would come to me. And so I'd have to mediate a ton of different women together. And I've just always been so drama free. I'm like, I hate confrontation. I hate like petty drama. And so I just would always try and find like compromises or collaboration, And so I think just working through other people's issues with them, like almost as a mediator. Even in high school, I was a peer counselor. And so I learned early on how to like help other people figure out things for themselves without me saying anything. And I guess just like all of that combined just stuck with me for a while. But I do think everyone has told me from the outside who's known me for a very long time that I'm way mature past my years. So I think it really is just accumulation of growing up pretty quickly, a lot of my trainings and learning from other people's mistakes and drama and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you guys are only in your mid-20s now.
Yeah,
so,
I'm 26, he's 27.
We're pushing
and
30,
that's-
guys.
Yeah, well, we'll let you know when you get there what the tricks are.
I think that's why you're so successful at the age that you are, because of all that growth mindset will take you so far. Because I grew up very fixed-minded. Are you talking about the book
Mindset by
Yeah,
Carol Dweck.
yeah, that's when I just finished.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite books. And I grew up very fixed-minded. So I had to like if I was good at something, I was good at it. And if I wasn't, then I guess this just wasn't the thing for me. And so that's something that I had to take years to break that thought pattern and realize that I could become great at, I mean, not anything. I was going to be like a pro basketball player anytime soon, but anything that didn't require physical ability that I didn't have, I could become great at. So I think that's really powerful. And I think it's an amazing example because the world that we live in now is so different than, like, I'm 35, so almost 10 years older than you guys. And I think
Not that we look it.
I think that even 8, 9, 10 years of difference, like, the world was completely different when you guys were 18 than when I was 18. And so I think now people have such a broader perspective of what they can accomplish in their life. And with the accessibility of information, like we were talking about YouTube earlier, it's just so cool to see people in their 20s building a life that they're really excited about and proud of. Because I think for me, when I was in my 20s, I didn't really know how to do that. I was just figuring out how to do that. And I think now it's more accessible for people. And I just, you guys are such a great example of not only just a successful business, but a marriage that you've worked on and put time and energy and effort into. And I just think it's really cool when you see young couples setting an example like you guys are setting.
Well, thanks.
This may be a super personal question, and we can cut it if you don't want to answer. But do you guys want kids?
Yes.
And you want to start a family? I didn't know if that was like
very different
on the horizon.
versions.
I know you guys have plenty of time, but
We do.
you're so young. But is that like, and like, is that something you would just still kind of implement in your lifestyle and your travel and create? Like, that's kind of fascinating to me. A lot of people think that once you have kids, your life ends. So
I'm in the view of you adapt the kid to your lifestyle. You don't adapt your
Agreed.
lifestyle to the kid. At least for now. And so I think we'll definitely still be doing what we're doing, traveling with the children, if that so happens.
We have very different views on when we wanted to have kids, though, which I think was interesting. Giselle changed my mind a lot on that because my parents had me when they were 18.
And mine had me when they were 37.
Yeah, so like my parents are in their 40s still, so they're like very young.
Wow.
Still, I still can go hiking with them. Like
I can still go. My mom is so in shape; she could still go too.
Yeah, but then so I wanted to like get married 21, 20, have kids right away, like have a really young family because that's what I grew up with, and I was like, this is amazing being able to do all this stuff with my parents. But I feel like now we're much more in the mindset of like, okay, let's build a career, let's get a home.
Let's enjoy our marriage child free for a little bit too. I think that's we have a lot of really good friends that are most of our really, really close friends that are also married are in their 30s. Like we're definitely the runts of all of our friend groups, which is great because we can like see and absorb and learn from all of them too. And one thing that they all have recommended is like enjoy your marriage together, before having kids. And so I think now like we'd probably give it another 3-4 years before we try to have kids. But if it happens before, then great. If not, that's also something else we can encounter. But right now, like, sorry, our dog is going crazy. She hates these poodles outside. But
we have a truck that's been backing up for the past like 5 minutes, it seems like. outside our window. Can you hear it at all?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Clearly just beeping, constant beeping. New York.
What was I saying?
But yeah, I feel like we also had a different view on how many kids we wanted. I wanted like a small army. So I was like, I want like 5
Sure.
kids. I want them all to be boys. We're going to have like the
Oh.
Gyrox. And like, that was like my goal. I was like, this is what we
I was
want.
like, you're not carrying them, dude. You're not getting 5. Sorry. Like,
You're not getting 5 and you're not getting all boys.
no,
Well, I guess you don't
he's
really.
gonna be a girl dad. Just watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, we definitely want to. But it's all God willing, right? So who knows if I'll
sure.
even be able to have kids? We don't know. So we'll worry about it when it comes around. But
For
yes,
sure.
we would love to be able to do what we're doing with some little kiddos too. Right now, Karen's our one and only child, our dog. So
I got it.
Do you guys have a bit like how has your vision for your business evolved over time? Like, is there a vision that you have? Or are you kind of like, we have these 2 steps and then we'll see what happens from there? Like, what does that look like when you guys are planning for the future of your business?
I feel like it's changed a lot, especially in the past 6
Year,
months
maybe,
or a
yeah.
year. I feel like before we were much more focused on like the month to month. They're like, okay, by next year, this is where we want to be. And then I said this at our wedding too. Like one of my greatest mentors looked at me and is like, you want to surround yourself with people smarter than you. Like all the people that you look up to, just constantly put yourself in groups where you have the most to learn. And we had this amazing opportunity recently where we got to teach social media and Instagram growth at this mastermind for this guy named James Wedmore. And we randomly met his like right-hand man on a hike in Sedona. And then from there, we're chatting with him and we ended up teaching at one of their conferences. And I feel like before we like knew where we wanted to go, but we would limit ourselves with what we thought we could do.
to just
So-
like the social media sphere,
Yeah.
content creation sphere.
And we would put like caps on that. Like, okay, well, we're okay. And our goal is 50 people joining this. And they were like, why are you limiting yourself so much when there's like, they really changed it. Like we kept talking about from a fixed mindset of like, this is where we want to go to like a growth mindset of where can we go and how much bigger it
In the
is.
world or the sky is the limit kind of thing. And so going and teaching at this mastermind, we were surrounded by all these people. The qualifications to be there were like insane. They all have to have at least made $1 million in revenue from their like online courses or coaching business.
And these like we always thought like you have to be like a Tony Robbins or like some of these big people to like be really successful, right? Some of these people were making multi-million dollars off of like selling courses on how to teach your kids not to be picky eaters, like
Or like a
so-
sleep coach to
Yeah.
help you get your baby to sleep.
And it was just like mind blowing that these people were so successful. And a lot of them have like no big social media following. They just do it all on the knowledge that they know and are really
They're like
good
humble
marketers.
millionaires is what our
Yeah.
like mentor calls it.
But it was really, it was beautiful to be able to go into a different space. Cause I feel like, especially when you're in the TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, like we all know the same people. It's a pretty small community. Like everyone, you almost like see what everyone else is doing and you can get trapped in that little circle, right?
especially when you're just like in your own niche
Yeah.
too.
So we like took ourselves and put ourselves in a completely different area where we were the dumbest people in the room, knew absolutely nothing about what these people were talking about. Like obviously we're experts on social media growth and content creation on that business, but this was all just so different to
We were
us.
just sponges absorbing everything we could. And then just after that, we ended up launching our second business, the Creator Passport. And the launch was so successful because of that, or not because of that, but like that mastermind attending that, even as just like we were teaching, but we were invited to stay and watch the whole thing. So we did. And we were like, oh my gosh, wow. Like there's so much opportunity here that we were just completely ignoring because we were so focused on like the influencer biz where
Yeah.
there's this whole other side that you can leverage that and really grow a whole other business out of it. And then from there, these people helped us open up and say, you don't even need the following. You can just like run ads and build an email list and do all this other sort of marketing stuff that we never even thought about. And so, yeah, it's just really cool to put yourself in a room full of very bright people and, you know, kind of get out of your own box by doing that.
And even teaching like some of our students now, it's so interesting to see their limiting beliefs and where they were coming from. And that's how most other people I feel like in the world, or like on some of the people's one-on-one coaching that we're doing, we're like, okay, this is our expectations, this is where we want you to be, this is what we think you're capable of, and their faces are like mind blown. They're like, I only want like an extra $500 a month. And I was like, $500 a month? I'm like, you're shooting yourself in the foot. You can go so much further if you just believe in yourself, you change your mindset, and you set yourself up for success. It's been really interesting coaching people, because doing what we did and what we learned like completely changed our life, flipped it upside down from our paths that we thought we would be on if you talked to us 5 years ago. And then even talking to us now, it's crazy to think like in 5 years from now, what is our life going to look like? How different or crazy and beautiful is it going to be if we continue pushing ourselves and challenging ourselves every single year? So it's really cool to be able to teach people that now. It's been fun, I feel like, from the coaching side.
Yeah, I'm sure that it brings another level of learning to that you have to do when it comes to when you have to teach somebody what you do, or teach somebody something that you've gotten good. Like you have to, it brings in a totally new set of skill, a skill set that you have to do in order to really be like, okay, I need to have this stuff down and be able to know exact like how I can help somebody else and articulate it really well. And so I think that's such a great piece of advice. If you are able to get around people that are much further along, we're big advocates for mentorship and finding people that are just further along and have lives and results that you want, that are willing to help you out and progress your life. It just like expedites that process. And if you're not growing, you're dying. And so like getting around people and getting around people that stretch you in that way is always such a great way to move yourself forward. So
Yeah, I feel like you really only need to find someone that's like really that 1 or 2 steps ahead of you. Like,
totally.
and you can learn so much from just that 1 or 2 years or 1 or 2 steps. Yeah, I think a lot of people think like you need to know everything possible about everything in order to help someone else. And in reality, you don't. You just need to be that like little bit better than someone else to help them, and find people that are just that little bit better or smarter or further along than you. And like G said, that's why we all of our friends that we really look up to and that we try and surround ourselves with are all in their 30s. I feel like it's very different. We have like our home friends, I feel like, and then we have like our travel and our friends that we're like,
Our creator friends.
yeah, that we love to put ourselves around. You guys know Trent and Sarah from Rio Travelers. You met them. Like
Yes.
they, for a long time, are people that we looked up to. We had the opportunity to go on a Norwegian cruise line sailing, just us and them. And every single night we would order a bottle of wine. We'd have like a 3-hour dinner and just really like challenge each other. They would ask some amazing questions. And today we like constantly are trying to hop on calls with them. We're constantly checking in with them. Just finding people like that to bring into your life that are just a few years older than you or were where you were a few years back, I think is a really, really cool thing to try and look for.
That's a great, I haven't heard somebody say it that way. And I love that, because a lot of people are thinking like, well, if I'm a singer, so I need to be mentored by Taylor Swift, or I need to be mentored by Jay-Z. And it's like they're thinking way too far ahead, where it's like, yeah, no, because the people that are a little bit more accessible are people that are just a little bit further along. And then, hey, Pop.
Hi, Karen.
Hi, Karen.
Decided to
Karen
make
needed to
appearance.
make her
Karen,
appearance.
for those just listening, Karen has entered the chat. We'll ask some questions to Karen a little bit later, but in the last like 10 or so minutes, you guys are obviously professional travelers. So do you guys have any tips? I don't, this might be a dumb question, but it's like, do you have just travel tips for people that that have that desire to travel, but may not just have the finances to do it as much as possible? But like, do you have any kind of tips of how to do it, how to look for deals, or how to do travel on a budget? I'm sure you have a lot of
feel like
courses and things that you can.
This is all G.
It's my question,
I was about to
yes.
say she does all of our planning, travel, everything, and I feel like it's got to be points and miles, is what you're gonna say.
Yeah, definitely points and miles. So
Right.
this is something I wish I started earlier. And it's, I guess, step one would be, no matter who airline or rental car company or hotel company that you're loyal to, go make a account for every airline, every hotel, every rental car, and put it on a spreadsheet. That's like step number one, because you can start earning miles or points whenever you shop through those people. And so that's number one. Number two would be get travel credit cards. And you'll link those to those accounts that you just made from the first one. And once you start using those, basically there's a few different ways to utilize credit cards without like spending a ton more money than you normally would. The first one is with sign-on bonuses. And so usually, let's say a card that we use and love all the time, which is the Chase Sapphire Preferred. That's the one that is like our go-to daily spender anytime I'm buying groceries, anytime I'm paying like my health insurance, whatever, I'm putting it on that card always. And the biggest thing with all of this too is making sure you're treating it like a debit card. Like if you are in debt, if you are not responsible with your money, if you're not in the US, then this is probably not for you. But if you are responsible with a credit card and you will pay it off every month, then this is a great strategy to get some points, because usually a sign-on bonus will give you a good sign-on bonus. Will give you anywhere from 90,000 to 120,000 points for meeting a certain spend minimum. So for example, in January of this year, we opened a Southwest personal credit card because we do fly Southwest a lot domestically. And we were able to get like 135,000 points from our Southwest cards because we hit like, I think it was like $3,000 spend in 3 months, which I just switched all of our bills to put on one credit card over the 3 months. And so we were able to hit it. And because of that, we got all these points. I was able to book like 6 round trip domestic flights with all of those points. And so it's a really cool tool once you learn the points and miles game.
And on top of that, we got the companion pass, which meant I got to fly free. So we booked
I just
those
have to pay
6
taxes
flights,
for Steven.
and then I got to just come on for free. So it was like one little thing spiked so much travel from just using a travel credit card, which I think is insane.
What's a companion pass?
Oh, it's so cool. Southwest does it where they do certain promotions for it. This one, basically, if you scored 135,000 points, you would get the companion pass for this particular offer. And so we opened a personal credit card and we also opened a business credit card. And between the two, we earned 135,000 points. And we got the companion pass. So the companion pass, you get to fly anyone of your choice free, and all you have to do is pay taxes on it. So every time, Steven, you book like a flight for one person basically, and then after you book it, you add your companion and you just pay $11.20 for him to fly as an extra seat. It's insane.
Wow.
And so we have that through December of 2025 because of this offer, and we're just running with it for as long as we can. It's the coolest thing. And I have 1 or 2 companion passes from my Delta status, but yeah, it's so cool that you can do that with airlines. Mm-hmm. And so we play the points game pretty hard. That's how we actually booked almost all of our honeymoon in French Polynesia. I was able to get the Four Seasons Bora Bora and St. Regis Bora Bora on points. And then I also booked our flights on Delta out to Tahiti on points.
Which is just insane. Like staying one night at the French Polynesia Bora Bora Four Seasons is like $8,500 a night. So
we've been looking into it extensively.
Yes.
That one in particular. So
truly, and then we were looking to book it. It's like, well, how much would this be to book for like a week? And it's like, okay.
Another tip actually for French Polynesia in particular, but it also works for other tropical destinations, is actually Costco. Costco Travel has a ton of really good deals. If they're like their own travel agency, basically. We don't do it because I play the points game, but a lot of people when we were out in French Polynesia said that they had booked the Costco package. Mm-hmm. Or a travel agent in general, honestly.
Does a travel agent really like help out with that?
Yeah, like my mom. Okay, so my mom was a travel agency manager for 10 years, and like they don't make anything. Like you don't pay them; they make money off of commissions, basically. And so they have it in your best interest to give you like all the best stuff, and usually you get free perks for booking with a travel agent if you're not like savvy enough to do it yourself. So they can get you like free breakfast. Sometimes you can get upgrades at your like hotel room. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you get extra like spa credit or activity credit on properties. So it could be beneficial to look into too if you're not comfortable like booking online, or if you don't know what is the best. And they're usually like agent what's it called? Like expert things where they can specialize in certain destinations. So yeah, it's pretty cool. If I wasn't the daughter of a travel agent, I would definitely look at using one. And it's nice too,
Yeah,
because if anything goes wrong, they can take care of it for you while you're on your vacation.
Is it as easy as Googling travel agent, or like, so how do you go about finding a good travel agent that would, help you out?
There's a ton of Facebook groups, honestly. I'm a big advocate for Facebook groups. I joined like a ton of, like for Bora Bora, for example, I joined like 3 or 4 French Polynesia Facebook groups. You can find a lot through there, or you can just, do Google search and type in like let's just run with this example. So travel agent, Bora Bora, expertise or something, or luxury travel agent Bora Bora, and they'll usually pop up.
Got it. Well,
Wow.
that's honestly, I learned a ton right there.
Same.
But I love talking
I was
about
like, there's got to be a better way than what we're doing, because like I'm like,
Just
we're about to
spending our
spend
money.
50 grand.
you guys, we did 2 weeks in French Polynesia. At everything was a 5-star. And between the points and then like the cash we had to pay, I think we ended up spending $26K. So you should not
For
be
2
spending
weeks?
50 for 1
Yeah,
week.
for
Just
1 week.
shoot us some text messages after this. We'll chat.
I'll plan your trip for you.
Yeah, you'll be our travel agent.
I love doing. I literally, people text me. All of our friends are like, Giselle, is it worth it to book points on this, or should I spend cash, or should I like use this flight or whatever? I love it. I will do it for you guys.
Wow,
My baby moon
Okay.
present.
Oh my gosh, that's so nice. Yeah, we'll definitely be hitting you up then with the tips and tricks, because we're novices when we just basically, like, we have a basic business, like a business credit card or whatever, and we use points for that, but then that's as far as we go.
Yep.
We don't really go as far as
we
Pushes
have
like a million points.
Yeah,
and
I think I have a
miles.
million right
It's
now.
absurd how many she has.
between all of my different programs, because I have a spreadsheet that tells me which card to use for certain things to maximize spend categories. So like certain cards will do like, oh, you get 3 times the points on gas stations, and you get 2 times the points on rental cars or whatever. So I make
how many
sure
credit cards do you have?
a
Oh,
lot,
gosh.
like
I'll-
probably 12 or 13, I think
It's
right
ridiculous.
now. But you have to think though, it's
But
spread
you-
out
got it.
between
Yeah.
personal cards, lover's passport cards, and creator passport cards. So like that's like 3
Are you
different.
able to like combine points?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah. So like all of my Chase points, I have like cards under all 3, like my personal and my 2 businesses, and they all pool into one. So that one I have at least 300,000 Chase points right now that are just waiting to be used. Same thing with Marriott Bonvoy. I have 2 credit cards, 1 business and 1 personal, and they pool together in that sense too. So yeah, there's a lot, especially because you guys are business owners and you're married. You guys can actually refer each other to do referral bonuses, and then one of you would get a kickback for referring, and then the other person would be able to hit a sign-on bonus, and then you just switch off with cards. There's like so much good strategy. And actually, I do have a freebie on our website, a points and miles guide. If anyone's listening and
nice.
wants to learn about it, I have like all of the softwares that I use in there, like tips and tricks on transfer partners, and then if you guys want to see our top credit card recommendations, we have that in our bio on Instagram.
Okay, great. So they just go to your Instagram, the Lover's Passport, go to your bio, and you'll like they'll be
see
able
it
to see
there.
those things.
Yep.
Awesome. Wow, that's great. Yeah, we'll
I'm
we'll
going
be
there now.
having to go. Yes, Claire's about to look right now. How many? Do you know how many countries you guys have been to?
I think together, like 40.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we're at 41 now.
We're at 40. No, I think it's 40 countries and 28 states and 28 national parks.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Is your goal to hit every country?
I think 100 countries. I don't know if we actually, we're talking with our friends. They're also some of our students, Hudson and Emily, and they're on like country like 180 out of
They're on track to
189
hit
or
all
whatever
of
it
them,
is.
yeah.
So they're going to finish it this year. And after chatting with them about their experiences in certain countries, I'm like, I don't know if I want to go there,
Totally.
So
Yeah,
like,
just to say that you went there, maybe it's not worth it.
yeah, I would rather prioritize places that I really want to go. I would definitely want to do like the 7 continents. Like that is something I think we'll be able to hit next year, actually, hopefully. And yeah, 100 countries would be rad. But I think the biggest gamifying travel thing will probably be the 50 states, which we're trying to finish in the next year. But things keep popping up, so we'll keep on going until it happens.
That's so cool, guys.
That's very cool.
So to wrap up, I kind of have some quick fire questions, and it's going to be like the best blank, and you each answer to the best of your ability. I'm sure these are pretty impossible questions, but to the best of your ability that you've been to, what is? So we'll start with Best beach that you've been to?
I would say, what was the beach in Australia? Whitehaven Beach?
Whitehaven Beach, yeah.
Dude, this spot was absurd.
Really?
It's in the Great Barrier Reef in Australia.
Yeah,
it's
if
it's
you have your
like made
phone-
of silica, like all the sand's made of silica. It's
she
crazy.
like got her wedding ring and
you can like
rubbed
shine it.
and it
Yeah.
like glows afterwards. It was so funny.
We took a helicopter there. It's
Yeah,
so cool.
we went to this beach and we had it to ourselves. Like it's pretty hard to get to this specific beach, and it was named the best beach in the world. But the water is like perfect temperature. The beach is like the whitest beach I've ever seen for miles. And like we said, you could shine your jewelry in it. So we were going to the airport into the lounge, and the woman looks at us and like, "Oh my gosh, your ring
ring's
is
so
glowing!"
shiny.
And she's
So
like, "Oh,
funny.
I went to Whitehaven Beach." It was pretty funny.
All right,
Rubbed it in
so
the
there's
silica.
like don't try to do it yourself. Just go to Australia and
And clean your ring.
clean your ring.
There you go.
Easy as that. So would that be yours, Giselle, as well?
yeah, I would say the same one.
Okay, wow, that's the top one. All right, best resort that you've been to?
Four Seasons Bora Bora.
You can't beat it, man.
Really?
Like
I've
it
heard
is
that from
literally,
a lot
and
of
then
people.
close second would be St.
St.
Regis Bora Bora.
We made
Really?
a whole
Okay, so
YouTube
they're-
video about this. We think that the Four Seasons has like everything there is luxe, but it feels luxury.
It feels like old money. St. Regis
yeah.
feels like new money,
then-
and there's more young people there.
St.
So
Regis definitely had more lively like nightlife and like shows and stuff and better service, we thought. But the Four Seasons, if you're going for like just
the view is
Oh
just
my
like
gosh.
alone, just mind blowing.
Breathtaking.
Yes.
Yeah, I've just seen pictures of it. It's probably on our top list right now.
It
of
it's
places to
definitely.
go.
I mean, clearly we've
It's
been
worth
like
the hassle and the money.
yeah.
It's worth it.
Yeah. Well, we'll be asking you after this how did best go about doing that. Best hiking.
Ooh, this is a hard one.
I'm gonna go with Norway, Lofoten Islands in Norway.
I was gonna say either Norway for we're going there again this summer. We just got back from winter, so there's a few hikes we didn't get to do. Second, I think was going to be in Switzerland. There were a few ridge hikes. What was the ridge hike right outside?
The Schäfler Ridge.
Schäfler Ridge hike was just absolutely ridiculous. That was probably all time.
Switzerland's definitely up there as well for
it,
us.
it definitely is.
Best honeymoon spot.
French Polynesia.
You can't
Yeah,
beat it.
okay. Like, that probably is the same as the resort.
We just
okay.
made a YouTube video on this too. We have like I feel like top 3 would be there, and then Aruba.
Aruba was really
liked.
nice.
Really?
And then
Okay.
Aruba was stunning. And then I'd probably say what the Whit Sundays in Australia. That's
where
like-
that beach is, but
Yeah.
also I feel like for me too, if you're looking for a more budget one, Mexico.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
love
dude.
Mexico. We did our mini moon there because we
Like
did
Cabo or where in Mexico?
like Cancun to Tulum.
Yeah.
Yeah, we loved that area.
Aruba. What place in Aruba?
So the whole island, it only takes an hour to drive around. So all of it.
Yeah. It's pretty
Wow.
small.
It's really small. Everyone speaks English there, so it's a lot easier if you're not like a well-traveled person to honeymoon there. There's like stunning blue water. We went like off-roading in their national park. There's scuba diving, shipwrecks out there.
It's insane. Like
It's
I feel
really
like-
nice.
I feel like in 5 years it's gonna like really pop off. It's like a up and coming spot for sure.
Oh, nice. Aruba. Okay. Mark it down, peeps. Best for food. Like best for food, like foodies.
Oh man,
that's so
Well, there
hard.
was this one spot in Mexico. It was our first trip down there. It was called the Artiste. What do you
Cafe de Artistes.
Cafe de Artiste, hands
The
down,
French
like
spot in
my
Mexico.
favorite
Lol.
food experience ever. It was absurd. It was
I'm-
like it just if you Google it and go there, the
French
food was-
spot in Mexico.
Yeah.
we were sitting there and it's inside this like
Rainforest.
cafe. There was a violinist playing Perfect by Ed Sheeran as we're eating like some of the best food I've ever had in my life. I was like, what is happening right now? It was absurd.
Wow.
I'm
All right.
trying to think. I don't know if
I would
New
say
York City.
Italy.
I was gonna say I think Italy. I just am a big Italian food girl.
For the best bang for your buck, like $8, absurdly good absurdly good pasta or pizza, and then you can get Prosecco's like $3.
Cheaper than water.
It's
Yeah.
absurd how cheap, like the best. But we're talking. I'm thinking like In and Out. Like they have the best burger per dollar. I think Italy has like the best food per dollar in my opinion.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay. Italy. I mean, we're biased. We're in New York City, so we have some pretty amazing food
Yeah.
here.
New
But
York is bomb too. Yeah, U.S. is up there for food.
Is it?
Particularly Vegas and New York and L.A.
San
for that.
Francisco's got really good food too.
thank you so much for your time and for everything that you shared. I mean, we're gonna still, watch you guys from envy and not no, but I appreciate all the tips and tricks. And no, we'd love to travel with you guys again. Maybe do a cruise or something. But that would be a blast.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having us, you guys. It was really fun. I'm glad that we finally got to chat. It is good to like see you face to face. You guys have been crazy busy. We're so excited for you guys. I feel like we see you guys every day though, because we see your videos all the time. So
the power of social media.
Same. I know. Yeah, the power of social media. Which, speaking of, you're the lover's passport on that's how people can find you.
Okay, so you can find us on all social media at The Lover's Passport, and we also have our blog where you can find all of our itineraries in depth if you don't want to go scrolling through our thousands of posts on Instagram, which is just theloverspassport.com. If you guys want to check out our podcast, it's called Unfiltered Adventures, and it kind of goes behind the scenes of all of our travels, but also behind content creation. So if you're an aspiring travel content creator, we have a lot of good tips over there. And then lastly, if you're aspiring travel content creator, we also have a whole other second page called the Creator Passport, where we teach you all of the behind the scenes on how to do what we do, what it really takes to, shoot all these properties and work with tourism boards and hotels and Airbnbs and all that kind of stuff. So lots of good stuff.
Yeah, it's been really fun.
So cool. That's the Lover's Passport for y'all. Giselle and Steven, thank you for your time. We always end our podcast. I don't know if you've listened to the end, but we always end with saying, better warm up by saying goodbye. And it's 2 notes. You pick 2 notes.
Singing
goodbye. And so you just pick 2 notes. It typically is like goodbye, and then you see where it goes. All right. Are you ready?
Okay. She's doing.
No, I don't.
Bad.
Oh no, there is no bad. It's always bad.
Yeah.
So
it's always bad.
You don't have to worry about it being ever like good. So as always, people, we like to end our podcast by saying goodbye. I mean, I have no idea. I couldn't hear you guys, but I'm sure it was a wonderful.
I can't wait to hear the mix.
Oh God, we went low.
Bye.